Deep in the heart of the Iberian Peninsula lies a track so intense it can devour the souls of even the bravest drivers. Hi, and thanks for joining us for the third round of the Missed Apex Formula 3 Challenge as we travel to Barcelona to tilt at that most iconic windmill of a track, the Circuit de Catalunya. From the cataclysmic braking zones to the immense third turn, from the disaster-inducing hairpin to the final pace-destroying chicane, there is not a moment's rest to be found for our weary drivers. To get us underway today, please give a warm welcome to your commentator, Chris Stevens.
It's Friday night and it's race day for the third round of the Missed Apex iRacing F3 Cup here from Barcelona, the Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona to be specific, and we are just in the coming towards the end of free practice ahead of qualifying for the third round of this championship. My name is Chris Stevens. I'll be your lead commentator this evening. Joining me from the cockpit for this practice session and in between races, it's Richard Spanners Ready.
Hi Chris, obviously I'm not going to join you through the actual race from the cockpit. We did that one time. I actually got a pretty good result, but ultimately I think that's not ideal, but I'll be here for the pre-show and in between races.
Yeah, pretty immense challenge, and kudos to you for pulling it off, but absolutely I think we're taking the right approach this time around. And we were just watching our championship leader Tim Ellis on track, but he has just brought it back to the pits rather selfishly right as we start our coverage for tonight, but there are plenty of other contenders in the mix, such as this man Alex Jonesma in the white, black and red car, who was mighty fast at the Nürburgring after a little bit of coaching from our inaugural champion Danny Henning.
Yeah, he's fast here, Chris, and I think Danny might be regretting giving Drillsma such good training. I'm not sure he's a championship contender, but he could certainly get in Danny's way. And actually Tim Ellis, who is joint top, I think, on the points after drop rounds at the moment, he's obviously he's quick, but he's not quite on the pace of Harrison, of Henny, of Drillsma, I don't think, in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. The likes of Henny up at the top of the timings at the moment, as you'd expect, but Tim Ellis currently 9th fastest in this session. He was showing a good turn of speed during the Saturday practice and last night's practice as well, so hopefully he can turn it around for qualifying. But Spanners, this is the second new track that we've raced on this season after Spa, and this of course is all part of the push for Formula One Grand Prix tracks.
Well, that is something that I've driven at as the sort of project director, because I think there's something about driving these single-seater cars that are in the Formula One ladder around racetracks that are iconic, that you have seen on TV and that you've played on video games since you were 7 years old. So even though we've not driven this track before, it's familiar to everyone, and suddenly you're in the flowing Sector 1 and then up and over the hill of Turn 9 trying to keep it flat but realising you can't, and you realise you've seen this 1,000 times. So it's new, but it really isn't new, and this track is glorious. It's flowing, it's physically challenging in a sim that's got decent force feedback because there's no rest. It's not like Spa where you've got big long rests up to Lecumbe. You're constantly on it here. It's so... one corner leads into the next corner. How you exit a corner affects the next corner.
Case in point, about driving circuits you see on TV. Of course, the officials at Imola lined up perfectly with the Grand Prix at Imola, and I don't know about you, but it certainly enlightened my experience of watching the Grand Prix, having just spent a week driving it in the sim.
Massively, and this is something we do at Missed Apex on the F1 podcast all the time. Much to the annoyance of certain listeners, as we say, do any form of racing. Go and turn a wheel in a go-kart, even if it's a 25-quid session at your local track with 20-mile-an-hour cars. Go and do some racing. Go and, if you've got an Xbox, go and buy a 5-year-old F1 game and just experience what it's like to go around the next track that's coming up on the F1 calendar. Obviously can't do it with Portimao, but for Barcelona and Monaco, going around those F1 games, even with a control pad, is going to massively enhance your race weekend.
Absolutely, and while you're at it, be sure to subscribe to the Missed Apex Motorsport YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of the iRacing F3 Cup action, or indeed any of our iRacing podcast episodes. More on that later. So, before we get into the nitty and the gritty of this weekend, let's talk a little bit about the championship. It was a big to and fro. We saw the Nürburgring last time around, but if you haven't joined us for the first 2 rounds of the championship, we've got a nice little VT to get you up to speed. Missed Apex Motorsport returned to action with the brand new iRacing F3 Cup, welcoming the new F3 car with a bumper 55 car field for some explosive action during the opening round at Spa. Danny Henny's title defence got off to a poor start after making contact with Brad Philpott on the opening lap.
Then, they made contact! And Philpott out! Already at the first corner! Henny is out too!
Leaving young Luca Harrison to battle with our inaugural Formula Renault Challenge champion, David Hatton. And Hatton is on the outside towards Lecon. We've seen people been able to make that move work. Can Hatton make it work? He breaks deep and goes around the outside and claims the lead on the final lap. Going right down to the wire, the pair spun in unison at the final corner.
Harrison tries to brave it out. He has got the line. He's just going to shove Hatton out. They both spin!
Allowing Kyle Power to take the spoils as the first victor of the new series.
Kyle Power coming through for the win! I don't believe it!
Alexander Dobbelsberger was untouchable in the first of the 2 reverse grid sprint races after taking the lead early on. Dobbelsberger breaking towards the bus stop chicane, and he is about to take his first victory in the Formula 3 Cup. Henny got one last shot at victory in the 3rd race of the night, pushing Stephen Williams to the absolute maximum in a bid to close the gap. The gap at the front of the field is 1.5 seconds. Williams has to be inch perfect for the rest of this lap.
Yeah, this could be disastrous for him. Henny is there just prowling like a shark just behind.
Henny is right there.
Henny spun though!
Henny
spun out of 2nd place. Williams wins.
And Henny, I think, is just going to get over the line in 2nd place. Tim Ellis has made it back onto the podium. He's in 3rd. Tim Ellis took his first podium of the season in race 3, making it 9 different drivers in the top 3 after the first round, and combined with his 7th and 4th place finishes in races 1 and 2, put him at the head of the championship. Henny struck back in the first race at the Nürburgring, taking a commanding win to start clawing back the gap to Ellis, followed by a storming drive in the reverse grid race to climb back up the order and onto the podium.
But meanwhile, Danny Henny, car number 1, in position 1. His championship is back on.
Dorian Tabachnik delivered on his promising pace to take the win in race 2 on his Missed Apex Motorsport debut.
Dorian Tabachnik, Dory as you know him on YouTube, and he takes the win in his first race in the Formula 3.
Alex Drilsma had threatened winning pace during practice, and it finally came together for him in race 3 to take his maiden victory.
Around the final corner, and Alex Drilsma is an iRacing F3 Cup race winner. What a display!
Making it 6 different winners in the first 6 races. Shelley, Basso and Harrison added their names to the list of drivers who have finished on the podium so far this season. Despite a difficult round, Ellis still holds the championship lead before drop scores are considered, but his lead has been cut to 42 points, with just 7 points separating the next 5 cars. It was a strong night for the gold-rated drivers, with Basso leading Drilsma, while Anil Singh leads the silver table. So much action so far in our first season with the F3 car, and all more still to come, as after this round we will be halfway through the championship, halfway through our first season with this car, and it's amazing how close it is between some of these guys. As I mentioned at the end of that VT, just 7 points covering 5 cars in the top 6 positions in the championship, and Ellis has a bit of a margin at the moment, but when you take into account the 1 drop score they have at the moment, then it's actually pretty level pegging. Just a reminder, each driver does get 1 drop score this season. They must take it in the first 5 rounds of the championship. So once we get to the finale, that is your tally, and you will add whatever you score in the final round. So no confusion at the end of the season about, if it's close in the championship and we have to take into account this drop score. None of that. It's all sorted out before we get to the final round.
Yeah, that maths was out in your brain at the end of last season, wasn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
So I'm currently just putting together some practice laps while I talk to you. Qualifying's an interesting one. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that now.
Yes, so, well, we often talk about how difficult the car can be to drive on cold tyres. I think at this track, we're going to see that more than anything. It is so slippery out there on the first lap.
So a lot of the times you're able to do things like increase the tyre pressures and bolt some extra downforce on to try and warm the tyres up quicker. But in this scenario, because we're not doing just 2 lone laps, it's an open practice, and I think everyone's going to get 6 laps in. And also, the quali fuel is not so different to the race fuel. Most people, I think, are running their race setups in qualifying as well. But it's so vital to get a grid spot, because I think half a second here is going to be the difference between maybe 12th and like nearly 30th. I think it's that close.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing some very close times at the moment. 1 second currently covers the top 12 at the moment. And that qualifying is certainly going to be crucial, and not dropping it in those first few laps while the tyres are cold. I can only imagine when they did the scan of this track, they had recently resurfaced it, because it's very slippery, particularly around turn 3. We've seen a lot of cars spinning off on cold tyres out there.
Yeah, I had a word with everyone. We did like a driver briefing, but in the form of an email. And one of the key things that we're saying to people is, look, on lap 1, if you get on the power too early, if you brake and turn too hard, you're going to spin. That is just the nature of the beast. And I've been really trying to get across to our racers and our community that although we can't yet give them physical pain for dropping it or having an accident, we're trying to kind of exert a social pressure, if that makes sense, Chris. We're trying to say, if you ruin someone else's race, that's really bad. So try not to be leery and spin and throw one down the inside.
Absolutely. So we've mentioned, it can be difficult. I think that has led even a lot of the quicker guys to go for a more stable setup compared to something that's a bit more loose and a bit quicker.
Yes, sorry Chris, just distracted by some of the in-game chat. The drivers are able to communicate with each other on Discord and also through the sim chat as well, which is really interesting. So unlike in real life, people can say on there to a driver directly, you've got blue flags. Or in that case, someone was actually pointing out to someone, you've got your rear wing hanging off.
I would hope you would probably notice that. Now, Spanners, you and Jeansy took a tour of this circuit together, and not to record a hot lap as we've normally done, but to provide us some insight into how to do some wheel-to-wheel action around this circuit.
Well, I hope people enjoy it, and I'll comment on it after. Spanners here. This is where I would normally show you a record-breaking, scintillating, sizzling hot lap of the venue of the weekend. But I'm going to do something just a little bit different today as I show you me and Alex Van Gien dueling with each other around the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Now, I think it's fair to say that me and Jeansy have had our fair share of scrapes, but now it's all about racing room and respect. Let's see how this goes down. Okay, here we go, down into turn 1. Now, the wonderful thing about this circuit is so many of the corners allow you to hold the line around the outside. Now, I'm going to pick a deliberately late braking point to go deep into turn 1, leaving some racing room on the inside, but I'm hoping that gives me the inside line into turn 2. That puts Van Gien on the defensive, but he's got extra speed from turn 2 and can stay tight around turn 3. On your own round turn 3, you can theoretically go around flat, though few can do it. Watch how wide I go now, knowing that I'm going to brake deep and try and do a cutback, which he was ready for and successfully blocked off. Very hard to overtake here down into turn 5. Downhill, it's incredibly hard to judge your braking point, and Van Gien, with his extra racecraft over me, is able to hold it round the outside. I will say in this practice session, I had a little bit more pace on him. I had a little bit less fuel, and warmer tyres. So turn 9 is nearly flat with a lift, but not when you've got aero wash. I put my wheel on the dirt, I get a 1 second slowdown, but I figure I'm going to serve that in this battle anyway. Do I take a lunge down into turn 10? Amazing attempt, Spanners, well done. But Alex, the wily old fox, he's seen that coming, and again, he's gone round the outside to defend, which is wonderful. Into the unpopular Sector 3 in Barcelona here, and it is a little bit follow my leader. You don't want to do anything too crazy here. You just want to set yourself up so you've got a good run down the home straight. And unlike the F1 cars, the speed of the F3 does mean that if you get a good exit out of the chicanes, you should be able to challenge. Now I'm going to hang on, do slightly more than 1 lap to show my challenge into turn 1. And we've got Danny Henny there that we've overtaken easily. What a mug. So I'm going around the outside again. I'm going to pick a slightly later braking point because I know I'm going deeper. Van Gien turns in slightly earlier to make sure that he's got traction once again. Oh, well, there's contact. There's contact. That's definitely Van Gien's fault. I would say more than fault. That was assault. But the reason I am showing you me and Van Gien going wheel to wheel instead of a hot lap is because here, more than any other track I think we've done in the F3 series, it's no good to just be fast. You also need racecraft. I might be in trouble. Enjoy the show, guys.
So, Spanners, plenty of overtaking opportunities, but equally a lot of places where you can defend your position as well.
It's fascinating that in the olden days when we first started this, if you were faster than someone, you could pretty much get past. But the field is so tight now that there's a number of factors that could get involved. If someone's got a tiny bit of damage, if someone's on a slightly different, I don't know, tyre wear state, you can find yourself battling much better drivers now. And in that video, we were actually battling for about 10 laps. And I tell you what, Chris, he's a very experienced racer, and I would not have passed him in 100 laps. He was so good at defending. He could see everything I was doing. And it was 4D chess. I went for a cutback. He slowed just enough to make that cutback untenable. And if you know what your opponent's going to do, you've got a massive advantage. So expect the guys like Kyle and Alex and Danny with some real-world experience to do really well here.
Now, Alex Van Gien, certainly one of the most robust defensive drivers in this series,
That's
and he's
polite.
proved that time and time again. Now, a couple of
he
areas
definitely
on this
is.
track.
Sorry, Chris.
Oh, go for it.
No. While those guys are robust, I think as a community there is enough respect for racing room in general, especially among the top guys. And one of the things that people have struggled with recently, I think, has been the increased amount of netcode that's been occurring in iRacing over the last season or so. And people are just aware of that, giving each other more racing room. So I'm expecting the top 20 to actually be reasonably clean today. Beyond that, all bets are off.
Absolutely, just the way we like it. So, 2.5 minutes remaining in this practice session, and I mentioned earlier that we have an iRacing podcast over at Missed Apex, and you can get that on the main feed and also on this channel as well. So here's a little iRacing insight to give you a little snippet of the kind of stuff we have on that show.
What are we trying to achieve with the damage model, Brad? Like, do you want ultimate realism? Are we incentivizing good behavior over bad behavior? What's your take on how iRacing does and should approach a damage model?
I think it's quite simple. I think it's both of the things you've just said. So you want ultimate realism. You want it to break in a way which it would break if the same thing happened in real life, and you want it to look right, and you want it to do a similar level of damage. And it's also a really good incentive for people to not crash into each other, because you do damage to yourself and you do damage to the other cars. We need punctures. That's the next thing.
Punctures, right.
I would really like punctures and flat spots. That's the next step from my point of view.
Now then, yes, I don't get punished for a big lockup. Do you think I should get punished for a big lockup then?
Yes, I think you do actually, depending on the series. So when we speak about the Formula One maybe later, you'll hear that you do get punished, but not necessarily in quite such a realistic way. You suffer a big wear on that particular tyre. And I guess when you lock up for real, you suffer a big wear on one particular patch of the tyre, and it tries to simulate that. And I think iRacing has this thing where when you get down to 0% tire life, it effectively simulates a puncture in terms of the grip level, but you don't see a puncture, and you don't actually get the tire burst and going flat or anything like that.
I mean, I'm not sure that I would want a flat spot like to be translated to my VR as just like shake until I pass out.
Yeah, but it should though, shouldn't it? Like we've got great force feedback wheels. Most people driving on iRacing, so you
just want it to like rattle our wrists to death.
Yeah, I mean that is
for that.
realistic. Anything with slicks, a lockup is a pretty severe thing.
Okay, but it does punish you. Like if you are being overly sliding, if you are being wild, like you do overheat the tires and you do get a lack of grip. So we've got that level of realism.
And I think it does that. I think iRacing models that quite realistically. I've driven lots of race cars, obviously with various types of tires, but if you push too hard and you start spinning the wheels, very quickly you get into this spiral of temperature going through the roof and the grip level going down in sync. And I think iRacing actually gets that very right.
Make sure you are subscribed to this channel and don't miss any of the action. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to the main Missed Apex podcast channel so that you don't miss the Portuguese Grand Prix race review on Sunday. This is the start of qualifying, and it's an absolute gaggle of cars that has emerged out of the pits. Everybody trying to be on track first at the moment. And some of the quick guys have definitely found themselves mired in the pack, which you really do not want to be. You can lose a second a lap following another car here. So people like Danny Henny definitely trying to find some clear air. Now, before we get into the hot laps, let me just mention track limits are a little bit of an issue for some of the drivers, I think, because they are quite harshly imposed on this circuit. On turn 3, if you dip just one wheel on that green AstroTurf on the outside, you will receive a 1x and possibly a slowdown. Right here at turn 8, where Danny is coming through now, you see that big yellow curb on the inside. Hit that, you really risk wrecking your car. Exit of turn 9 here as well. Dip one wheel into that gravel, you will get a big slowdown penalty and probably have to concede several places as a result. So leading this queue at the moment is John Lang, with Alexander Dobertsberger just behind him on the track. And then Kyle Power a couple of seconds behind them. So Dobertsberger's maybe trying to get himself a bit of a slipstream. I think he'll regret it by the time they get down into the twisty stuff. We saw Danny Henny trying to muscle his way through the order. And he has found himself, we can see him just coming onto the pit straight. He's 5th in this queue behind Andy Flagg, and with a fair bit of clear track in front of him. So they're just starting their first flying laps now, and of course this is where you've really got to be careful. The tyres are still cold and you've got to make sure that you don't have a silly spin and risk damaging the car. This is just a 10-minute qualifying session they have, so you can maybe get in probably 5 laps, and it'll be right at the end of qualifying where we see the best times coming through. So they're the ones to watch out for. See, Dobertsberger is starting to get held up a little bit here. He's tucked up quite closely behind John Lang, and it's just going to be hurting his downforce levels compared to someone, say, Kyle behind them, who's got relatively clear air. And of course, unlike in officials, we are not driving the track alone, as John Lang attempted to let Dobertsberger through there, and it all got a little bit messy down at the turn 10 hairpin. Dobertsberger running wide off the circuit. That's not doing him any favours, and actually it's probably going to allow Kyle Power to get closer to them even. So Dobertsberger is through now, but now Kyle's going to find himself in a bit of traffic. So first lap times across the board. Won't expect anything too quick from John or Dobertsberger. But Kyle's lap time there was a 38.9. And Danny immediately going quicker than that by around 3/4 of a second. 38.1 is the current benchmark. Stephen Williams goes into 3rd, ahead of Andy Flagg, Edward Shelley. And Lucas Vaskovits pops it into second place ahead of Kyle Power as well. Brian Boomsma up there in fourth at the moment as well. Just 25 thousandths of a second separates those three cars as they're on their second flying lap now. And Kyle definitely going to find himself in some traffic here. Might have to back out of it and try and find some space again. But as I was saying, unlike the officials where you run on your own, you get 2 laps. This is an open session, so everyone's sharing the track. And that, of course, means that some circuits, people try and get a sneaky slipstream off of each other as Kyle gets a big twitch coming through turn 9 and takes to the curbing on the outside, but just about kept it within the bounds of the track, I think. Around this tricky technical final sector, it's so easy to make a mistake. We've seen plenty of cars using the runoff around there, and there's plenty of big yellow curbs to punish you for going off, especially down at that final chicane. We've seen plenty of people straddling that curb on the exit and ruining their run down the pit straight. So Dobbelsberger lowers the benchmark now to a 37.6. And Henny lowers it even more, 37.2, but still a lot of traffic for these guys. Actually, I think Kyle did not keep it within the bounds of the track limits because he has had his time erased, so 38.9 remains his best, but he'll have a few more opportunities at the moment. Danny Henny, 2 cars behind him on track, but with a little bit more clear air in front of him. Currently has almost half a second advantage over Dobbelsberger in second place. As we can see, Kyle finally getting his elbows out and getting past the slower car. And now he has found himself some clear air, crucially. Andy Flagg is between those 2 cars on the track at the moment. He's currently in third place. Dobbelsberger and Flagg coming off a bit of success at the Nürburgring 24 hours last weekend. Second place in the GT4 class with the Porsche Cayman. And that was alongside Matt Cook, Alex Jonesma, James Wingfield and Derek Irwin, actually. So plenty of familiar names to the Missed Apex Motorsport community. And plenty of other guys tackling the TCR class as well, not least Luca Harrison, Brian Boomsma. So on that occasion, Dobbelsberger managed to jump Henny, but it's actually Luca Harrison who goes to the top of the times with that one by a tenth of a second, 1:37.0. He's 0.119 ahead of Dobbelsberger, who in turn is another 15 thousandths clear of Henny, who's now down to third place. So a little under 3 minutes left in this session. We're coming down to crunch time for the top drivers. Brian Booms was still in fourth place, just 2 thousandths of a second behind Henny. And there we see Stephen Williams. He's got himself bulked up behind another car at the moment. He's in fifth place for now. Oh, and Dobbelsberger's dropped it into the gravel trap down at turns 7 and 8. That's not going to do him any favours at all. So the man currently going for pole position at the moment, car number 21, that familiar Ace of Spades black and white livery, is facing the wrong way in the gravel trap, and they'll have to get himself back up to speed, clean up his tyres. Hopefully he won't have lost too much tyre temperature, and hopefully he hasn't overheated them trying to get back on the circuit. So Luca is... Oh, and Luca's just run into the back of another car. Now that was somebody who was definitely causing a couple of traffic jams, but Luca perhaps a little bit impatient there. And has he damaged his front wing? Could that hurt him in these final runs? This could be his final lap, he's about to say. It will be, as there's 90 seconds left on the clock. And Henny has brought down the benchmark once again by 0.3 of a second, 36.7. He may well get another lap in, actually, if he crossed the timing line in time. Boomsma now slots into second place, ahead of Gregory Leader, who's now in third. So big pressure on Harrison at the moment to fight back. Same for Dobbensberger, who of course had that spin into the gravel trap last time around. He's just behind Luca on track. Carl Power has managed to string a lap together, but it's only 7th fastest at the moment, 37.5, currently 7/10 of a second off provisional pole position. And championship leader Tim Ellis, 8th place at the moment, 37.7, with Alex Van Gien in 10th place, all now down to 11th, as Ishmael Basso puts himself into the top 10. Basso, the current gold driver standings points leader, ahead of Drillsma, actually. So leader has managed to put himself into third in the standings. We're watching him at the moment. Final few seconds on the clock in this qualifying session. And can leader improve on his position? He's certainly done a cracking job to get it this far up on the grid so far. We haven't really seen that kind of pace from him so far this week. So coming down to the crunch time, and leader's got just a little bit of traffic in front of him. And Henny was not able to improve his time. He went a 10th slower, so 36.7 remains the benchmark. Can anyone improve on that time? Dobbelsberger's gone over the line. He can't do it, but he has got himself back up into third place. Leader can't do it. I don't think Brian Boomsma's done it. He was going slow on that last lap. Drumsma pops it into second place by less than 0.2 per second, is a 1,000th ahead of Boomsma. And so Henny's protege there, the man he was training up at the Nürburgring, said he kind of regretted it a little bit after seeing his pace this week, has popped it up into second place. And he's the other man going for the gold driver standings lead at the moment. Second place by 25 points to Basso. So it'll be Henny on pole position then for the second race in a row. Just give you an update on some of the other contenders. Spanners managed to put it 20th on the grid, and Matt Trumpets from the panel is 28th on the grid. So both of those guys very much in contention for the top 20 reverse grid, getting themselves into a good position. It's a very long run down towards turn one of the longest we'll see all year. The start is going to be absolutely crucial to determine who will get into turn one first, as the red lights are on and we're about to get underway for the third round of the Missed Apex iRacing F3 Cup. Away they go, and it's a cracking start by Brian Boomsma from the second row, an even better one from Dobbelsberger behind him. Henny immediately moves over to the right-hand side. Jonesma able to get into the slipstream and starting to challenge Henny down towards turn one. He'll have the outside line, though. Is he going to be able to pass his tutor who has been training him this week? No, he will not. Brian Boomsma now looking up the inside down towards turn three, trying to claim second place. Kyle Power has lost the place to Dobbelsberger already down towards turn three. Boomsma is into second place in that orange and black car, down towards turn four, and he has secured that position. Johnsberg and Dobbelsberger slotting in behind them, then Carl Power coming under big pressure from Luca Harrison, who's gone down the inside down towards turn five. And is he going to be able to get it slowed down when he gets there? He is indeed. He picks up fifth place from Kyle Power. Johnsberg still having to go defensive as Dobbelsberger looks around the outside. Stephen Williams getting very wide down into turn seven, and David Hatton is now challenging him. He's gone past. He's now trying to get past Kyle Power around the outside of turn nine. Fantastic. What an opening lap from David Hatton. He's up 5 places already into 6th place. Tim Ellis not made much progress in 9th. He's now trying to go down the inside of Stephen Williams down into turn 10, but Williams is able to fend off the championship leader for now. Up at the front of the field, though, Henny has got a little bit of an advantage already. He's 1 second clear of Brian Boomsma as he exits the chicane and comes around the final corner to complete the first of 11 laps of this Barcelona circuit. It's Henny across the line by 0.8 of a second. Brian Boomsma in second, Alex Johnsma third, Alexander Dobbelsberger in fourth, Luca Harrison in fifth, David Hatton up 5 places from his grid slot in 6th place, but he's coming under pressure from Kyle Power now as he's looking to regain that place down towards turn one. Stephen Williams and Tim Ellis side by side once again behind them as well. Lucas Raskovitz
completing the top 10. And Power did get that move done down into turn 1. He's back up into 6th place. And Ellis and Williams, I should say, still not done, as Ellis finally gets that move done on the man in the Aston Martin colours. Back down towards turn 5 for the leaders, and nothing doing between the top runners at the moment. No apologies if you're seeing Alexander Doppelsberger in the black and white car just blinking in and out a little bit. Unfortunately, we are often at the mercy of each driver's internet connection, so hopefully that won't cause too many issues for Luca Harrison behind him. And Doppelsberger did just dip a wheel onto the gravel down at turn 9. Is he going to get the slowdown penalty? Now, you can be a little bit sneaky here and just back off through this slower final sector, but surely that's going to put Luca Harrison right on his gearbox. Doesn't seem to be losing too much time at the moment. You have got a set amount of time to lose, let's say, the 1 second you are forced to give up, but hasn't lost the place because of it just yet. Round the final corner for the second time, and Luca Harrison, the man who was fighting for victory in the opening race at Spa alongside David Hatton, and threw it away with that last corner spin. Just behind them, Ellis and Williams are side by side once again. Williams coming back at the championship leader. They've got the back marker in the way to contemplate as well, but Williams is able to carry the speed around the outside of turn 1 and is back ahead and into 8th place. But Ellis not through yet as he's looking up the inside of turn 3. It's so difficult to go side by side through here as it's very slippery off the racing line, but Williams is able to fend him off. So a fantastic scrap going on for 8th place at the moment. Just in front of them, Power and Hatton look like they could just be closing in on the battle for what is 2nd place, currently headed by Brian Boonsmo. Still only 1.6 seconds behind Danny Henney at the moment, as a few more cones go flying at turn 9. There's a whole row of those at the start of every session. By the end of each of them, there are none left. And Luca Harrison once again looking for a way past Doppelsberger into 4th place. He's at the back of this queue at the moment. And you've got to be so patient getting through this slower section of the track. It's very slippery as well. Not a lot of downforce on the car at the lower speeds. And then the exit out that chicane, so important as you're flat out through the final corner and onto this very long pit straight. Now you have to be around within half a second of the car in front to be able to benefit from the slipstream and get alongside. But with so many of the other cars in front of them getting the slipstream as well, it's kind of equalising the factor, as Tim Ellis is still having to go defensive this time against Ismael Basso. The championship leader is having a very difficult start to proceedings here in Barcelona, as he seems to just be going backwards and constantly on the defensive. Ismael Basso, the current gold driver standings points leader, currently challenging our overall points leader down into turn 5. So I wonder what has happened to Tim Ellis. Has he damaged the car maybe over a curb? I'm sure we'll find out later, but he was very quick during the week's practice sessions and challenging for the podium, so maybe this is just a bit of an off race for him, and hopefully he can gather it back up again, as once again the battle for 2nd place makes its way into this stadium section and closes up. So far nobody's really shown their hand in this one, but it's been very closely fought, and of course following each other, a lot of turbulent air just makes it even more difficult to drop the car in, especially the high-speed turn 3. But Doppelsberger was closer than ever to the back of Drillman's car, but did just get himself up on that curb on the exit of the chicane. That might have just compromised his exit as he starts straddling that curb and losing momentum, and that may well have been an opportunity to try and pass Jones, but he has missed. Still closing in, and Jonesmo's kind of just ever so slightly losing touch with the back of Boonsmo's car. The gap is still under a second. It's about 8 tenths at the moment, but definitely Jonesmo is coming under big pressure from Dobbsberger at the moment. Almost at the half race distance already as we're on lap 5. So far, no one able to challenge Henny up at the front of the field. His advantage is now 2.3 seconds as he comes down towards turns 7 and 8. All eyes on the battle for second though. And the final places on the podium, which are very much up for grabs between these 4 cars. And Kyle Power not closing in as I thought he might do. He's still sitting about 3 seconds back from Harrison's car in 6th place. And Hatton not really mounting much of an attack on Power either in 7th place there. Ellis looks like he's stabilized a little bit. He's got 1 second over. From the podium place, Alex Drolsma has dropped it down at turn 12. And that was a podium place that he just threw away. That is awful for him, but it has given Alexander Dobbsberger 3rd place now. And there is daylight between him and Brian Boomsma at the moment. So that could well secure 2nd place for Boomsma. Now it's on between Dobbsberger and Harrison for the final place on the podium. Bit of a classic Barcelona error there from Dronsberg. You can be so eager to get on the power through that very long turn 12. And it is just so easy to light up the rear tyres and spin the car around. And that's just another example. We've seen so many flashes of speed from Alex Dronsberg. Certainly a thing, we expected the win to come at the Nürburgring, but maybe in race 2 rather than race 3. But nonetheless, he's done a fantastic job so far this week. And the unfortunate thing for him now is that's really going to compromise him because he's rejoined in 9th place and is, well, it will give him a better grid position for race 2 at least, but it's not what he wanted at all. So 3rd place very much up for the takings between Dobbsberger and Harrison at the moment. And Harrison very late on the brakes down into turn 10, very nearly clipping the back of the rear of Dobbsberger's car. Rounding this turn 12, easy on the throttle, guys. And down into this very tricky turns 13, 14 and 15 section where there's very little grip from the surface and of course no real grip from the wings of the cars at that kind of speed either. So Harrison is about 0.6 of a second back as they exited the final corner. Not quite close enough to mount a challenge down into turn 1, I'd have thought. We're on lap 7 of 11 now, so coming into the closing stages pretty soon, and Harrison will be running out of opportunities. But don't forget, this was the man who was staring at the back of Power's car for most of the first race at the Nürburgring as well, and he made his move late, having studied where he was quicker than Power and where he could make up some time as well. So maybe he's just doing the same with Dobbsberger, biding his time. And definitely for a driver of such a young age, quite mature tactics. Dobbsberger, of course, no slouch in this series. He is a race winner, a championship contender in seasons gone by. And we haven't seen all that much of him up at the front of the field so far this season. He was quite quick at the Nürburgring, but didn't quite come together for him. Although he has won a race this season, actually, has Dobbsberger. And Harrison still looking for that elusive first win. As I mentioned earlier, he was in the lead, fighting with Hatton at Spa, the first race. And that synchronized spin with Hatton losing the victory in that final corner. A painful moment for him, and he's been trying to make up for it ever since. Now, this is a lot closer this time round as they start lap 8, and Dobbsberger just trying to break the toe a little bit, just edging from left to right. Harrison, he could have a little lunge. Dobbsberger taking the curb and more on the entry, and Harrison shows his nose. Dobbsberger had to leave him space, but no way through for Harrison on that particular occasion. Very close through turn 3. He'll be getting the big aero wash from the back of Dobbsberger's car, but he's still close and could challenge him down into
turn 4. Nope, no way through. But this is definitely the closest we've seen Harrison to the back of Dobbelsberger's car all race long. No way through into turn 5 for him. He could set something up down into turn 7, although it's a very short braking zone. The camber on the way in does make it difficult to pass down there. Where is Harrison going to pick his moment? Turn 1 would be the most obvious opportunity. He's got to get the run off the chicane to make that work. And of course, as we were talking about in the video with Spanners and Jeansy demonstrating how easy it is to defend really a position down into turn 1, as you can carry the speed around the inside, around the outside, and into turn 2 as well. It can be quite difficult to muscle your way through, but surely if anyone's going to find a way through, it's Luca Harrison. Harrison once again very, very close to the back of Dobbelsberger's car as they round that final corner. This could be the position changing for the podium, and Dobbelsberger recognises it immediately, moves to the right hand side, and he has left Luca a space on the inside. He's moved back over to the racing line, and Harrison with the line down into turn 1. This could be his third place. Dobbelsberger trying to squeeze him on the way in, but Harrison goes through into third place. Picked his moment fantastically, and with 3 laps to go has bought himself a place on the podium. But that Dobbelsberger doesn't look like he's through yet. Could come back at him into turn 4. He looks very racy behind Harrison at the moment. Just behind them, Tim Ellis looks like he's finally going to make some forward progress as he's looking at the back of Alex Jonesman's car, recovering after that spin that he had down at turn 12. Just a few tenths behind at the moment. And we've got Lucas Raskovitz and John Lang close behind the championship leader as well. Tim Ellis in that very luminescent yellow and blue car, number 14, who has been leading the championship since the first round. Although leading the championship despite having not won a race and only with 1 podium finish to his name, but it's his consistency that's brought him that top spot, while the likes of Danny Henney there, they've been winning races, but they've been getting themselves caught up in an awful lot of incidents as well. And Ellis was getting very squirmy in the middle of that chicane. Well, right behind them, it could be on between Raskovitz and John Lang for the top 10 spot, as well as Lang moves over to the inside. Car number 46, that purple and blue car. And down the inside he goes, and he picks up a place in the top 10. Oh, Raskovitz looked like he was going to try and come back at him at one point down towards turn 4, but no way through for him. Raskovitz with that stunning John Player Lotus inspired livery. Now, 2 laps to go. And Henny's advantage now up to 5 seconds. He was half a second quicker than Boomsma on that last lap. And he's about to round the final corner and start the last lap. Let me just check. Actually, I think this is going to be Boomsma's first podium finish of the season as well. It is. Probably should have been on the podium at Spa, but of course he was rather unceremoniously wiped out on the first lap in an incident with Alex Van Gien. And that rather was all she wrote for that particular round. And then he did join us at the Nürburgring, but because he was on holiday, he was actually playing with a controller. And so I think he was struggling for sort of top 20 pace, but nonetheless, he managed to get around without causing too many incidents. So fair play. And now it looks like we're actually seeing Boomsma's potential. with his first podium of the season, and it will be another different podium finisher to add to the list. Danny Henny, there's no stopping him at the moment, is there? Just impervious up at the front of the field. This will be his second consecutive feature race win, his second win of the season as well, and his fourth podium. He was breaking all the records in the Formula Renault Challenge, and he's looking to set the records in the F3 Cup. And so far is doing a stellar job of it, and actually will be the first man to take 2 wins this season, the first repeat winner, and it was only going to be Danny Henny, wasn't it? Car number 1 comes across the line and takes victory in the feature race at Barcelona. Brian Boomsma, 5 seconds behind. He takes his first podium of the season, not far ahead of Luca Harrison there, but he gets himself back onto the rostrum as well. Doppelsberger in 4th place after that great battle for the podium. Kyle Power, he comes across the line in 5th place ahead of David Hatton. Made up plenty of places on the first lap. He was in 6th place. Stephen Williams gets himself 7th place. Alex Johnsma, what could have been for him? The podium was definitely in sight, but it's only 8th for him. And championship leader Tim Ellis, very difficult start to the night. He's in 9th place. And John Lang, that completes your top 10. Now, by the sounds of it, I think we have a spanners in the chat.
Yeah. I've been here the whole time listening to you, Chris. Oh my goodness, the battle for 20th place was absolutely intense as well.
It looked it now. Who managed to come out on top in that? Because of that, of course, that is going to set our race 2 grid, and it is going to be Edward Shelley on the.
Yeah, it looks like Edward Shelley. I was in that battle with Nicholas and Sam and Trumpets there, so I would have missed out anyway, but I ended up having a little spin that cost a few places. But that's interesting because Shelley is quick enough to be up with those top guys. So with him out front, I think he's going to have a little advantage over the likes of Kemp, Greenall, Basso, even Van Gien.
Now let's have a word with our race winner before we depart. Danny Henny, the first repeat winner of the season. You were worried about so many other people's pace, you needn't have bothered.
Yeah, the race went quite well, to be fair. Other than the start, which was a bit tricky with Alex. I didn't get the greatest start off the line, so I had to give him the shoey chop. But yeah, it went really well. After the first corner, it was build a gap to Brian, and then just manage the pace from there, really. And it was nice. The gap just kept growing, and then a bit of fun towards the end, just putting in a fast lap. But yeah, it was really good. And yeah, I've been worried all week, so nice to bag the win.